On the fateful day of March 7, 1971, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman declared Bangladesh's independence from what was then known as West Pakistan. This set off a horrifically violent conflict that engulfed the nation. An estimated 3 million Bangladeshis met their untimely end in a gruesome genocide, a scale of brutality not seen since the Second World War. By the time the dust settled, Bangladesh had secured its independence, but had also plunged into poverty. War had left nothing untouched. Roads, bridges, factories, and farms all lay in ruins. The timing couldn't have been worse, as the country had been hit by the most destructive tropical cyclone in recorded history just 4 months earlier, leaving a fifth of the nation submerged and 500,000 lives lost. To make matters worse, inspectors from the World Bank described some of the cities as post-apocalyptic. So how was it that Bangladesh managed to turn its future around? And how exactly is it on its way to becoming the richest country in Asia? Well, Bangladesh's story isn't one without obstacles. The country was in ruins when it gained independence. The average lifespan was 26, and child mortality was at 37%. Most people survived on less than 33 cents a day, while a fifth survived with less than 4 cents. Political unrest, natural calamities, and a lack of resources also plagued the country, whose future looked grim. But miraculously, the past 3 decades witnessed an incredible transformation in the quality of life of Bangladeshis. Life expectancy soared up by a whopping 180%, and deaths caused by tropical cyclones plummeted by an astounding 100-fold. Poverty rates nosedived from a staggering 80% to under 19%, and child mortality dropped by a staggering 92%. Bangladesh's economy emerged as one of the fastest growing globally, with its GDP per capita rising from being 50% lower than Pakistan's to almost 50% higher. In 2019, it even surpassed India, aiming to attain high income status by 2041. Before continuing, please feel free to subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying our content. You can also turn on notifications if you'd like to stay updated with the latest. So, when Sheikh Mujibur Rahman returned to his shattered homeland in early 1972, he faced an almost impossible task. As the leader of the Awami League, the primary force behind the independence movement, he was tasked with fixing Bangladesh. This included rapidly restoring law and order, rebuilding political institutions and infrastructure, and devising a cohesive plan for rapid economic development. All this had to be done with virtually no resources. The coalition that had united against Pakistan during the war quickly disintegrated into factions, each scrambling for control over economic assets and political power. To counter this escalating political instability, Mujibur and the Awami League began prioritizing party loyalty over merit when appointing officials, a strategy aimed at maintaining their fragile grip on power. Coupled with the grim reality of many qualified individuals that had been lost during the war, the initial government struggled to formulate and execute effective developmental policies. Their first challenge was deciding the fate of properties and assets formerly owned by Pakistani elites. These elites, who had held sway for 24 years, possessed the majority of industries and businesses in the country. Seeing an opportunity to strengthen the state's power, the government swiftly nationalized over 700 of these firms. Most were handed to loyalists and party supporters, many of whom lacked industry-specific knowledge or experience. This move set Bangladesh on a socialist economic path, eventually resulting in state ownership of all banking and insurance sectors, and a staggering 92% of all industries. The private sector was burdened with regulations and import restrictions, even facing profit limits. The result was clear. The state-controlled economy faltered dramatically. In just 3 years, industry output declined by 66% due to inefficiencies, and agricultural output, the backbone of the economy and the primary income source for most, plummeted by 84% compared to pre-war levels. As if things weren't bad enough, from April to July 1974, heavy rainfall led to catastrophic floods, wiping out the nation's rice crop. The economic impact was disastrous. Inflation soared to 400%, leading to hoarding and speculation, while the government's food rationing system crumbled under corruption. To make matters worse, the United States, upset over Bangladesh's continued trade with embargoed Cuba, withheld 2.2 million tons of food aid. Within just 9 months, 1.5 million people perished from starvation. Mujibur's support dwindled, giving rise to a broad anti-Mujibur coalition supported by the military and a budding capitalist class. In response to his opposition, Mujibur became increasingly authoritarian. He declared a state of emergency, consolidating power as both prime minister and president. He established a paramilitary force, which was used to intimidate the population and torture opposition members. He banned other political parties, censored independent media, imposed martial law, and clung to his vision of creating a socialist state. By 1975, Bangladesh was morphing into a one-party socialist dictatorship. This didn't last long. In August of that same year, a violent military coup resulted in the assassination of Mujibur and his extended family. His two daughters, studying in Europe, were the sole survivors. Political chaos erupted, marked by a series of coups and counter-coups. When the dust settled, General Zia Rahman, more popularly known as Zia, took power in 1977. He went on to establish the Bangladesh Nationalist Party, BNP, and began implementing sweeping policy changes, the most significant being a shift towards attracting foreign aid. Western nations and international donors were eager to provide Bangladesh with substantial aid after independence, but they demanded a shift from socialism to a more free economy. To please foreign funders, foreign investment restrictions were relaxed. The stock market was reactivated, tariffs and taxes were cut, and state-owned firms were slowly privatized. Bangladesh received enormous international help, especially in infrastructure, health, and education. The change was huge. Rapid infrastructure investments improved transit, while focused health and education spending laid the foundation for long-term growth. Zia's pro-business policies also boosted Bangladesh's ready-made garment (RMG) industry, which became its largest export sector. The RMG business became the nation's economic engine, boosting exports, employment, and growth. Unfortunately, Zia's office term was also turbulent despite his key contribution to Bangladesh's economic trajectory. Political turmoil included a 1981 military coup attempt against him, leading to his assassination in 1981. Following this, his widow, Khaleda Zia, led the BNP and became Bangladesh's prime minister several times. With the AL and BNP alternating in power, violent clashes and electoral fraud charges erupted frequently. This political instability persisted through the 1990s and early 2000s, and in 2006, a military-backed interim government took power amid widespread political violence and corruption allegations. This period witnessed significant efforts to eradicate corruption, but also raised concerns about human rights abuses and the military's role in politics. The military eventually retreated from direct rule, and a new government took office in 2009, led by the Awami League, under Sheikh Hasina, the daughter of Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. Hasina's government has since remained in power, winning consecutive elections in 2014 and 2018. During Sheikh Hasina's tenure, Bangladesh has continued to experience economic growth and development. The country has made significant strides in various sectors, including agriculture, manufacturing, and services. The RMG industry remains a critical driver of the economy, and Bangladesh has diversified its export base by expanding into sectors like information technology and pharmaceuticals. It's also not just limited to economic progress. Bangladesh has also achieved notable improvements in social indicators. The country has witnessed significant poverty and child mortality reductions. Investments in education have led to increased enrollment and literacy rates. Bangladesh has also excelled in disaster preparedness and management, reducing the impact of cyclones and other natural disasters through improved infrastructure and early warning systems. But what exactly did Bangladesh implement on paper that contributed to the economic boom? The short answer is a lot of things. We can go through the one that helped the most. Diversification of the economy is something that has really contributed. While the RMG sector remains vital, Bangladesh has now diversified into other sectors such as information technology, pharmaceuticals, and agriculture. This has enhanced economic stability. Another successful move by Bangladesh was the substantial investment in education and healthcare, resulting in improved literacy rates, school enrollment, and healthcare access. These investments eventually contributed to a more skilled workforce and better public health. Similarly, foreign aid and remittances from Bangladeshi expatriates have played a crucial role in supporting economic development and infrastructure projects. These financial inflows have funded critical development initiatives by the government that ultimately helped boost the economy. In the last couple of decades, Bangladesh has also achieved a degree of political stability, This has clearly allowed for consistent policy implementation and economic development. The growth of small and medium-sized enterprises, SMEs, and entrepreneurship have also majorly contributed to economic development and job creation. The private sector, outside of the RMG industry, has now expanded significantly. Another masterstroke by the country was its investment in disaster preparedness and infrastructure to mitigate the impact of cyclones and floods. Early warning systems and resilient infrastructure have saved thousands, if not millions of lives, and prevented heavy potential losses to the economy as well. One thing that has always stood in the country's favor is labor force participation. Bangladesh has a large and relatively low-cost labor force, attracting foreign investment in labor-intensive industries like RMG manufacturing. It's important to acknowledge that challenges persist in Bangladesh, including governance issues, corruption, infrastructure development, environmental sustainability, and income inequality. Even political polarization and human rights concerns have not completely dissipated. But it's safe to say that the country is on the right path towards progress, especially when compared to the earlier decades of its birth. For similar content, feel free to look at some of the other videos on your screen